Hi, Tony here and welcome to the channel, and thanks for joining me whilst I attempt to fit some graphics to my KTM. Now, a quick caveat before I start. I am in no way an expert, and this is kind of less of an instructional video and more of a just join me on a journey whilst I try not to cock up installing a set of decals on my bike. I did try wrapping the KTM with some automotive vinyl, and that didn't come out too bad as long as you were stood quite away from the bike. So I've scrapped that and decided to go with a proper set of professionally made decals, and for those I turned to Christian at Crispy Designs. I did have a look at some of the KTM ones that they do, and I really liked a couple of the designs. I just wanted something that looked nice and clean. I had seen the Krieger graphics that they'd used on their 790 Adventure R, and I quite like that sort of predominantly white look. I discovered that it was Crispy Designs that did those graphics, so I got in touch and had a chat about what we could possibly do in terms of looking at something similar for the bike. And I gave Christian a few ideas, and he disappeared away and came up with what I think are a really cracking set of graphics. You do have to pay a little bit more for it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm hoping that I don't cock this installation up, because I don't really want to have to pay for another set of graphics. Because the graphics are predominantly white, I couldn't really put them over the original orange side fairings, because then you would have had kind of that orange line around the outside. So I had to stick my hand in my pocket again, and I bought some new or replacement white fairings from KTM, which weren't as expensive as I thought they were going to be. I've snapped those on. I thought whilst I'm doing that, I might as well put the high R fender on there because I really like that look. Still yet to change the tyres. I'm going to go for knobbly tyres. Now, there's two ways of doing it. You can either do them wet, although they are self-adhesive. You can spray a mixture of water and very light detergent on there, and that gives you the ability to move it around a little bit and get the perfect fit. The drawback to that method is it's a little bit messier, and you've got to then be able to squeegee all of that water and solution out, because if you leave any of that behind, the decal's not going to stick. So I'm going to go at it from the dry method. It's cold in the garage, so we'll need to use heat, because heat is my friend. It's going to help me bend and shape the decals, and it's also going to make the adhesive stick better as well. But I'm going to shut up now, so let's see how I get on with this. Fingers crossed. When the graphics arrived, the box was much smaller than I was expecting, because the decals are on a roll. So the first job is to very carefully roll these out and then roughly cut around the outside so that you've got each individual decal to go on the bike. Then I just put them on a table with something on the top to weigh them down, just to flatten them out. Okay, I'm going to start with this little bit that goes under the rack, which is probably the easiest one to start on. Famous last words. I've got a fan heater going to try and keep things warm. I've also got my trusty heat gun here. This has got two settings. This has got a low and a high heat setting. If you've only got one of these that pumps out a load of heat, then a hairdryer might be enough. And the easiest thing to do is to lay it kind of where it needs to be, and then using masking tape just hold it in place. And it pays just to take your time to make sure you're getting it exactly where you need it. And then one way of doing this is, once that's secured there, you can just gently peel the start of this back, cut the backing paper off. So fingers crossed then, if you've got that little bit started in the right place, you can then lose the masking tape, peel the rest of the backing off, and then with a squeegee just very carefully push that into place. Pushing it in and just making sure that everything gets a nice stick. You have got a little bit of leeway, so if it doesn't quite go before it's fully set, you have got time to peel bits back. If you happen to get an air bubble where you don't want one. But there you go, there's the first bit, and I started with this because this is my first attempt, and as I say, if this doesn't quite go right, then this is going to sit under a rack anyway. It's just a case of taking your time, making sure the surface is clean with nothing on it, and then just getting it lined up and going for it. Okay, on to the next one. Now this might be a little bit hard to see, but there's a few digs and scrapes in the plastics here. Now I can feel these where there's a light scratch and the surface has been raised. Now although that is small, you will see a little bit of that under the decal, so any damage like that, I've just got a piece of fine grade wet and dry paper, and I'm just going to sand those down, and all I'm looking to do is take the height off the top of it off. So although obviously you can still see it, if you can't feel it, that means you've got the raised edge off and it's not going to be visible under the decal. That's much better. So obviously now go over that again with the alcohol just to make sure you've got everything off, and then this is ready for the next piece of decal. Now on a piece like this where we've got lots of bends, we've got a bend here, there, down here, that bit's got to go over the top. Heat is going to be important. And then it's just a case of taking your time, and if you do get a bubble, you've got time to be able to just peel it back and get rid of it. I fully expected to get a few bubbles in this. I'm not an expert, as I said, you're just joining me on a journey of discovery. This decal obviously makes the biggest visual impact from the side, and actually so far this has been the easiest one to put on, but once I get this back together, that's really going to tie in the tank to the rest of this. That side piece looks really smart, I think. So the last two bits have gone into the swing arm, and then that is this complete half of the bike done. So I'm going to get on and do the other half, and then I'll show you it in its full glory. It's actually not that bad a job, as you can see, as long as you take your time and don't try to rush it. The design of the graphics I think looks really good, so I'm really pleased with the way that it's come out. Just before I go, a big shout out to Christian at Crispy Designs for doing this design for me and turning the kit around very quickly. It's brilliant quality, fits perfectly well, and from a price point of view, even if you're having to have them custom made, I think they're very sharp indeed. So I'll put details to his website in the description down below if you haven't seen that before, but go away, have a look at the bikes he makes the graphics for, have a look at what he's got and what he can do, and if you're looking for something, I would definitely recommend getting in touch. All that leaves me to say then is until next time, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.